أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصي نعمه العادون ولا يودي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بحد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير صدق الله العلي العظيم. Before we get started, brothers and sisters, anyone that is listening to this lecture, wherever you may be, please recite Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of Nasir Shah, for the marhumin of Shahid Shah, for the marhumin of Sikandar Shah, for the marhumin of Nagma Zaidi, and for the marhumin of Asad Zaidi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And if anyone else would like to sponsor these lectures, please let Brother Asad Zaidi know, who is the president of Bab Lalum. Please call him directly, email him directly, and let him know that you would like to sponsor these lectures that are happening in these nights of the month of Ramadan. But to get to the lectures, as we were trying to understand the life of Nabiullah Adam alayhi salam, or some aspects of his life in the garden, we ended the discussion yesterday after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Hawa. When we started this series of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, if you all remember in the first lecture, we had talked about how some people have questions regarding Hazrat Adam, about infallibility in general, about the children of Hazrat Adam, how the progeny of Hazrat Adam they populated the earth. And today, inshallah, we will end Hazrat Adam's life, the discussion about his life today, and we'll answer those questions and other questions also and other incidents that happened in the life of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. But after we ended this discussion yesterday about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created Lady Hawa salawatullah alayha after he had put Adam into a slumber, when Hazrat Adam wakes up from his slumber and he sees Lady Hawa, he asks who she is, and she replies to Hazrat Adam, I'm a creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just like you are. Adam alayhi salam, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who she is, and Allah replies, Ya Adam, that is my servant Hawa, would you like to be with her? Adam alayhi salam, he replies, he said yes. And the long story short, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala weds the two together, and after they have been married, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then he says, وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ أُسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ. This verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O Adam, dwell you and your wife in the gardens and eat of the bountiful things in it as you will, but do not approach this tree or you will run into harm and transgression. or you will be one of those people that has committed transgression. You will be of the zalimin, or because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the end, fatukuna min zalimin. In the lecture of infallibility, we had already explained the different meanings of zalimin. Zalimin doesn't have one meaning; it has different meanings to it, and we had already explained how two of the meanings of zalimin can still be applied to Adam alayhi salam, because when looking at the prophets from the perspective of the Quran, from the eyes of the Quran, we had come to the conclusion in that lecture that these prophets, because they have been sent to guide mankind, they themselves must be immaculate, they themselves have to be perfect, they have to be infallible, they cannot commit sins or they cannot commit mistakes. The problem here is that people don't understand Hazrat Adam had two types of lives, whereas the rest of the prophets, they just have the life in this world. Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, he had a life not just in this world, but he had a life in the heaven, he had a life in the garden. He descended down to earth from up there, and because he descended down to earth, people think that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was a prophet from heaven, or he was a prophet in heaven, and then when he came to earth, he still had that prophethood. But as we will see a discussion of Imam Raza alayhi salam later on, when he has a discussion with Mamun Rashid about this same verse, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Hazrat Adam became, or he would become one of the Zalimeen, and about this same incident, we will see that no, Imam Raza alayhi salam, he gives a reply to this answer and to this objection that not just the Sunni brothers have, or not just other schools of thought in Islam have, but within just the Shia school of thought, there are some people who claim themselves that yes, Hazrat Adam did commit a sin, and the Shias, they have been against, or they have ideas against the Quran. And inshallah we'll look at that hadith of Imam Raza alayhi salam. But what happens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tells Hazrat Adam and he tells Dari Hawa that you can eat anything. You live in this garden, you can eat anything from any tree that you would like, from anything that you would like, but just do not approach this tree. And according to a tradition, Mamun Rashid, if you are not aware, he was the son of Harun Rashid, the Khalifa. Harun Rashid, he was the one who poisoned Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam, and Mamun Rashid was his son who poisoned Imam Raza alayhi salam. Mamun, he asked Imam Raza alayhi salam that, Yabna Rasulullah, are you not convinced that prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were innocent, they're innocent, they did not make any mistakes, they were infallible? Imam Raza alayhi salam, he tells to Mamun, yes, it's true. Then Mamun, he asked Imam Raza alayhi salam, what is the meaning of the Quranic verse? They both ate of the tree and so their nakedness appeared to them. Surah Taha, verse number 121. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they both ate from the tree, or they both ate of the tree, and their nakedness appeared to them. They began to sew together for their covering leaves from the garden. Thus did Adam disobey his Lord and allow himself to be seduced. Surah Taha, verse number 121. This is the translation that is out there right now of the Quran. Imam Raza alayhi salam, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said to Adam, O Adam, dwell you and your wife in the garden, and eat from it plentiful food wherever you wish, and do not approach this tree, for then you will be of the unjust. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicated towards that. Some narrations, they say that it was a wheat tree. According to Imam Raza alayhi salam, in this narration, he says it's a wheat tree. Other narrations, they say that it was a grape tree. Other narrations, they say that it was a date tree. And there's some narrations that say all of these narrations are true. Why? Because this tree, the other trees would produce just one type of fruit, but this tree, it would produce different types of fruit. And because of that, Imam Raza alayhi salam says this tree was a wheat tree. And Adam, he obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and did not go near that tree. And Hazrat Adam and Lady Hawa, they enjoyed the fruits of other trees. But Shaitan, he deceived him and said, Allah has forbidden you this tree, but not other trees of the garden. If you eat from this tree, you will become immortal like the angels and will stay here forever. He took a false oath that he was a true friend of Adam. Adam alayhi salam and his wife had never heard a false oath, and they trusted him. Imam Raza alayhi salam says that Hazrat Adam, because he was in the garden, he was in heaven, no one up there would ever take a false oath. No one would swear to God falsely. So because no one up there would swear to God falsely, Hazrat Adam did not expect anyone to ever swear to God like that or lie to him by swearing to God. So Imam Raza alayhi salam, he goes on to say, he says, this was the first fault of Adam. It was not a sin. It was tark al-awla that occurred even before he was appointed a prophet. And Imam Raza, and this is the tark al-awla that Imam talks about. He says, tark al-awla is condoned before revelation. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exalted him and appointed him a prophet, he became infallible and did not commit even a minor mistake. So what Imam Raza alayhi salam was saying is, when Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was up in the heaven, when he was up in the garden, he was not appointed prophet. He was not given the distinction of prophethood. He was not given that lutuf, or he was not given that mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because what is the job of a prophet? The job of a prophet is to guide people. Guide people to what? Guide people to Tawheed, guide people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When that is the job of a prophet, what use was there for Adam to have that job up in heaven or up in the garden when he was with the angels? All of the angels, they already knew about Tawheed. All of those angels, they worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Imam Raza alayhi salam is saying, that when Hazrat Adam was up there in the gardens, when he was up in the heavens, he did not receive prophethood. He received prophethood when he came down to earth. That is when he received prophethood. And after he received prophethood, there was no mistake that he had ever made. There was no sin that he had ever committed. And this is where a lot of people have trouble understanding. They say, the Shias believe that the prophets are born infallible. The prophets do not make mistakes. That's absolutely true. They're born infallible. But this is the difference between Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and the rest of the prophets. The rest of the prophets did not have a physical life up in the heaven before this life. Whereas Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, he had a physical life that he was living up in the garden, up in the heavens. And then he came down. All of the other prophets, they come down directly. They don't have a physical life up there. And because they come down here directly, when we say that they're born sinless, everyone is born sinless, but that infallibility, it stays with them. The same with Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. When he came down to this earth, from then on he became infallible. Why? Because from then on, that is when he had received the lutuf of prophethood. That is when he was determined, or that is when he was told to guide people. And like we had already said beforehand, if you say, well, who was there to guide? Who was there to guide in heaven? Or who was there to guide on earth? First and foremost, Lady Hawa was with Hazrat Adam. He could have still guided her. Second, if you say, well, Lady Hawa already knew about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she was already one of the believers. That's absolutely true, no problem. But we had already established that on earth, before Adam, there were other creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There were jinnat, there were jan, jinnat, and they're like on this earth. Hazrat Adam, the prophets, they're not just sent to guide mankind. They're sent to guide these creatures also. So when he received prophethood, he was sent to guide towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we come to the progeny of Hazrat Adam, we'll see maybe why this makes sense, why he needed to guide others towards this or monotheism or towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Imam, he says that this wasn't a sin on Hazrat Adam's part. Why? Because he was not given prophethood up in heaven. The narrations, they differ as to where on earth Hazrat Adam and Lady Hawa descended. When Hazrat Adam and Lady Hawa descended, there are some Shia narrations and Sunni narrations that state that they descended in a valley in Hind. Hind is current day India. But Hind, back even 1400 years ago, and even before them, Hind was not just what current day India is. Because now, India, you have India and you have Pakistan. Before 1954, before 1952, I believe, Hind and Pakistan, they were the same country. That whole area was called Hind. But now you have two separate countries. And during the time of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, I don't know how much of that area was called Hind. But right now, and according to these narrations, some of these narrations that we, the Shias have and the Sunnis have also, Hazrat Adam and Lady Hawa, they descended in a valley in Hind. But other narrations say no, they didn't descend in Hind, they descended in Hijaz, and Adam alayhi salam, he descended on Safa, and Hawa, salawatullah alaiha, she descended on Marwa. And it is quoted from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam that Adam, he had an angel as a special companion up in the garden, up in the heavens. And when Adam was expelled to the earth, the angel became uneasy and he complained to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and asked permission to visit Adam on earth. He came and he saw that Adam was sitting alone in a desert, and Adam saw him and he kept his hand on his head and raised such a loud cry that every creature heard it. The angel, he says to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, Ya Adam, you disobeyed the Lord and undertook the burden you were not capable of. Do you know what Allah had told us about you and we had differed with him? Do you know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us before he created you? And Hazrat Adam, he says, no, what did he say? What was that conversation? Allah told us that he was going to appoint his Khalifa on this earth. We protested saying that this would create mischief, or we protested that this creature would create mischief and bloodshed. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually created you for the earth, not that you remain in the heaven. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, after this quote, he says that I swear to God that these words comforted Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. So the Imam himself, he's saying, look, Adam was eventually supposed to come down to earth. Why? Because he was created for the earth. He wasn't created to stay in heaven forever. And in the very first lecture, we had already talked about how Hazrat Adam was created to come down to earth anyways. But we have narrations that state that Prophet Adam and Lady Hawa were very tall, and because of their height they could not shelter themselves from the heat of the sun. So when they complained to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about it, He reduced their stature so they could take shelter under clouds, under trees, and other stuff like that, in caves and stuff like that. But after weeping, some narrations they state that Hazrat Adam 70 feet tall, Hazrat Adam, but whatever the height was, when Hazrat Adam came down to earth, he was extremely tall. And these narrations, they say, like for this narration, it says that because Hazrat Adam was extremely tall, he couldn't shelter himself, Lady Hawa could not shelter themselves from the heat, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reduced their height. But after weeping for his separation from the heaven, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching him words for his dua to be accepted and him being forgiven, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then orders the Kaaba to be built. And what does the Quran say? Inna awwala baytin wudi'a lin-nas lallazi bi Bakkata mubarakatan wa hudan lil alamin. Most surely the first house appointed for men, or the first house that was ever built for men, is the one at Bakka. Bakka was another name of Makkah, and blessed and guidance for the nations. So this first house of Allah, or this first house ever created on earth, this first building that was ever created on earth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala denotes as house, this was the Kaaba. And this house, this Kaaba, was created by Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and the angels. And after its completion, Adam was ordered to do everything we do for Hajj. All of the rituals of Hajj, Hazrat Adam was ordered to do. For example, the Sa'i, Hazrat Adam was ordered to do. The stoning of the shaitan, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was ordered to do. The going around the Kaaba, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was ordered to do. The Tawaf al-Nisa, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was ordered to do. And going to the places, on all those places that you're supposed to go during the time of Hajj, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was supposed to do. And he did all of those. But, as you know, we have narrations that state that Safa and Marwa, for example, we run between Safa and Marwa. Why? Because Lady Hajira ran between Safa and Marwa looking for water. And that's true. We do. But does this take away from the fact that we run between Safa and Marwa because Hazrat Adam ran between Safa and Marwa? No, because what had happened during the generations to come, the Kaaba was destroyed and it was rebuilt. For example, in the time of Hazrat Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Hazrat Ibrahim and Hazrat Ismail to rebuild it. So it tells you that the history tells you that this Kaaba was destroyed and it was rebuilt by prophets. So what had happened, those rituals that Hazrat Adam did, these same prophets, these same people, they had to do those same rituals. But what happened when this person did the rituals after Hazrat Adam? These rituals were said that it was done by him. So the next generations kept doing them. So it came to a point where what? Lady Hajira, she was running between Safa and Marwa. And this ritual of running between Safa and Marwa, we are doing it. Why? Because Lady Hajira was the last one to do this ritual. And the other rituals the same way. The stoning of the shaitan, for example, Hazrat Adam had stoned the shaitan 3 times also. But what happened over here? Shaitan, we do it. Why? Because Hazrat Hajjah stoned him. We do it. Why? Hazrat Ibrahim threw stones at him. We do it. Why? Because Hazrat Ismail threw stones at him. But when it comes to the number of children, and this is the question that a lot of people have, when it comes to the number of children that Hazrat Adam had, there are different narrations about the number of children. But when it comes to how those children multiplied, how those children propagated, and how the offspring of Adam came into existence, from the Masumeen, it is clear that it wasn't through incest as the majority of Muslims believe. The majority of Muslims, they believe that Hazrat Adam and Lady Hawa, they had pairs of twins, 60, 70 pairs of twins. And what Hazrat Adam would do is that each set of twins was a boy and a girl. And what Hazrat Adam would do is that he would marry the boy from one set to a girl from another set. He would marry the boy from one set to a girl from another set. So this in turn led to incest. The majority of Muslims, the Sunnis, they believe this, that this is what Hazrat Adam did, and because of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala propagated the nations. And when it comes to narrations like this, people ask Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, how did the lineage of Adam come into being? Because those who live with us, meaning the Sunnis, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded Adam to marry his sons to his daughters. Thus humanity has descended from brothers and sisters. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he looks at his companion, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is purified and highly elevated from such kind of action. Those who say this have blamed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the unlawful origin of His exalted creation, like the friends, the prophets, the mu'mineen, and the Muslims. Meaning what? Meaning that if you say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought into existence the current Muslims that are living, if you say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought into existence the prophets after Hazrat Adam alayhi salam through incest, then you're blaming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something which is haram. For something which is haram. Imam, he goes on when he says that this implies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought into these people through incest, this implies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was unable to create through lawful ways, although He had taken oath from them that they would be lawful, clean and purified. Meaning what? Meaning that when Hazrat Adam was created, or when he was being created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took an oath from the creation, from the children of Adam, from the progeny of Adam, meaning all of mankind, that they would be clean and purified and they would be lawful. And Imam, he goes on to say, I swear to God that news reached me of some animal that did not recognize their sister and had intercourse with them. When later they came to know that they bit their own organs, or they bit their own sexual organs and died. In the same way, a person unknowingly committed incest with his mother. When later he realized his mistake, he killed himself. So how could one accept it when one is aware of the reality? But Imam, he says, there's a group, as you know, that has left the knowledge of the Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt, and they learn from those who have not been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor do they have any type of divine knowledge. These people are ignorant and have deviated. They have no idea of the initialization of creation and subsequent developments. Imam, he says 2,000 years before the creation of Adam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordered the pen, the qalam, to inscribe on Lawh Mahfuz that all that was going to occur until the Day of Judgment. And everything that was going to occur until the Day of Judgment, it included all of the divine books and the laws that are in the divine books. And in the books, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made unlawful the sisters for their brothers. And at present, all the 4 books, we see in the Torah, we see in the Injil, we see in the Zabur, and we see in the Quran, that they were revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His prophets, through Lawh Mahfuz. That nowhere has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the sisters lawful for the brothers. Meaning that 2,000 years before Adam was even created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already decided that these would be the laws, these would be the books, these would be the laws, everything that was supposed to happen. He had already decided, He had written it in Lawh Mahfuz, the guarded tablets. And in those tablets, in that tablet, He had already written that these would be the laws. And one of those laws is incest is forbidden. Whoever supports incest, whoever says so, supports the argument of the Magians. Imam, he says that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, he had 70 twins. Every twin consisted of a boy and a girl. When Qabil killed Habil, Adam was so much shocked that he cried for 500 years and he did not touch his wife. When he overcame his sorrow, he went to Lady Hawa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them both a son, Sheeth, who was born single. Before Sheeth, Hazrat Adam was given sets of twins. That part, according to this narration, that part is true. Sheeth was also named Hibatullah. He was the first successor to whom a will was made. After Sheeth, Yafith was also born. Meaning that Sheeth was born and then another person, Yafith, was another person who was born to Hazrat Adam and Lady Hawa. When both grew up and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to multiply human beings, and as the qalam had already made the sisters unlawful for their brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a huri, sent one of the maidservants of heaven, and that huri's name was Nazala, and ordered Adam to marry Sheeth to her. So Hazrat Sheeth alayhi salam, he married one of the Hur al-Ains of heaven who had come down. Next, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends another Huri whose name was Mu'azala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders that Yafith be married to her. Adam did as was told. Sheeth got a son and Yafith a daughter. When both attained maturity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Adam to marry them, and Adam obeyed. Meaning what? Meaning that the cousins got married. The cousins got married. It wasn't brother and sisters that got married. It was the cousins that got married. Thus the lineage, please keep in mind the end part of this narration, Imam, he says, thus the lineage of prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began. The lineage of prophets and messengers began from 2 sons of Hazrat Adam and 2 Hurul Ains from heaven. But what about all of the others? What about all the other sons and daughters of Hazrat Adam? If the narration says that Hazrat Adam, he had 70 twins, 70 sets of twins, then what about all of the others? If these 2 sons, they had Hurul Ains sent to them, what about us? What about Habil? What about Qabil? For Qabil also, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordered Hazrat Adam to marry Qabil to one of the Jinnat. Hazrat Qabil, he accepted and they were married. For Habil, a Hur was sent. Habil, he accepted and they were married. This idea that human beings have come into existence from incest, this isn't an Islamic or this isn't a Shia idea. Imam, he says that this has come into Islam from outside. And if you do research into where this is coming from, you'll see that there's some Christian denominations that believe this to be true. There's some Jewish denominations that believe this to be true. Here, the Imam, he says that the Magians have said this and people have taken this from them. But Imam, when Sulaiman bin Khalid, he asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, may I be sacrificed on you? How did the generation of Hazrat Adam continue? Was there a woman other than Hawa and a man other than Adam alayhi salam? Imam, he says, first Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Qabil and then Habil from the womb of Lady Hawa. This is the story of Habil and Qabil now. When Qabil attained maturity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a jinn woman for him and revealed to Adam to marry both of them together. Adam did so and Qabil was satisfied. When Habil attained age, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent for him a hurul ain from heaven and asked Adam to marry them. Adam obeyed the divine command. When Habil was murdered, the huri was pregnant with a child of Habil. Habil, if you all remember, it was Qabil that killed Habil. And why did he kill Habil? There's a difference of opinion within Islam itself, in that the Sunnis, they say that Qabil killed Habil. Why? Because of this idea of incest. What had happened, they say that Qabil, because Lady Hawa and Hazrat Adam, they would have twins, what would happen was one girl and one boy would be born together. So what did they say? They say that the girl that was born with Qabil was more beautiful than the girl that was born with Habil. And because there were two different sets of twins, Hazrat Adam, he would marry one boy from one set to a girl from the other set. And what did they say? They say that the twin sister of Habil was ugly, whereas this twin sister of Qabil was beautiful. And Hazrat Adam, he had decided that the twin sister of Habil would be married to Qabil, and the twin sister of Qabil would be married to Habil. Meaning that Habil would get the beautiful one, Qabil would get the ugly one. And Qabil wasn't satisfied with this. And because he wasn't satisfied with this, he complained to Hazrat Adam. And because he complained to Hazrat Adam told them to offer a sacrifice. And whoever sacrifice is accepted, they will get the beautiful one. This is the story of the Sunnis. And what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the sacrifice of Habil and he didn't accept the sacrifice of Qabil. So the reason for the killing of Qabil itself, there's a difference of opinion within Islam. The Sunnis say this, it was over the sisters. Whereas we Shias, we say no, it wasn't over the sisters. It was something completely different. And inshallah we'll get to that pretty soon. But the Imam, he says that Qabil, he had a jinn as his wife. Habil, he had a huri as his wife. And Sulaiman, he asked Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, he asked him the same question. He says, may I be sacrificed for you, Ibn Rasulullah? They say that Qabil killed Habil because Habil was ashamed that his sister was being given, or Qabil was ashamed that his sister was being given to Habil. Imam, he says, Sulaiman, you also attribute such filthy things to Adam and do not feel ashamed? Sulaiman, he says, Ibn Rasulullah, then what was the reason that Qabil killed Habil? Imam, he replies, the reason Qabil killed Habil, Sulaiman, was because Hazrat Adam, he had appointed Habil as his successor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had revealed to Adam to hand over the successorship and the grand name, or Isma Azam, to Habil, while Qabil was older. When he came to know of this, he became angry and said he was the rightful heir to successorship and the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And under divine instructions, Adam asked both of them to present a sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah accepted Habil's sacrifice and rejected Qabil's sacrifice. So he envied Habil and he killed him. So what did the Shia say? What did the Imam say? The Imam, he says that Qabil killed Habil. Why? Because of envy. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the sacrifice of Habil, but he didn't accept the sacrifice of Qabil. And there are two lessons that we need to learn from this story of Habil and Qabil, brothers and sisters. One is about sincerity and the other is about envy. Habil was sincere in his offering in that he offered the best ram he had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Qabil he offered the worst wheat he had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The narrations they state that Habil he was a herder and he herded rams and he herded goats, whereas Qabil he was a farmer and he was farming wheat. The story in this, brothers and sisters, think about it. Many of us, we give in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way Qabil gave, but expect in return from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our offering the way He accepted Hazrat Habil's offering. What do I mean? I mean, for example, we'll give in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fi sabilillah, we'll donate whatever we give in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what we have no use for anymore, the worst of what we have. The same way Habil gave. He gave that wheat which he had no use for. Some of us, we do the same thing. We donate to the center what we have no use for anymore. We'll donate clothes to the poor which we have no use for anymore. The things that we have no use for, the things that we find insignificant, we donate or we give in the way of Allah. The same way Qabil gave. But at the same time, we think because we've given these clothes, because we've donated the stuff to the center, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's going to shower us with blessings the way that He showered Habil with blessings? No. If we give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way Habil gave, meaning the best, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat us like that. He will shower us with those blessings. But if we give the way Qabil gave, then no. He has no need for these blessings. He has no need for any of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says Himself in the Quran, He says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. By no means shall you attain goodness until you spend from what you love, and whatever thing you spend, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows about it. Meaning what? Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to spend in His way, or give in His way things that we ourselves love. Meaning that if we ourselves would love new clothes, beautiful clothes, then that is what we should donate to the poor. That is what we should donate to the needy. Why? Because we ourselves, what did the Imam say? You should love for your mu'mineen, you should love for the mu'min the same thing you love for yourself. Why would I donate? Why would I give in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala something that I myself don't love anymore? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you want, you will never attain goodness. You will never reach goodness until you spend from what you love. This is sincerity. And this was the type of sincerity that Hazrat Habil alayhi salam, he exhibited. And when it comes to envy, that was something Qabil, lanatullah alayhi, envy. That was something Qabil, he exhibited. What does Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam say about envy? Imam, he says, إِنَّ الْحَسَدَ لَيَأْكُلُ الْإِيمَانَ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارُ الْحَطَبِ. Imam, he says that the tradition, it says a man may be forgiven for something done in a fit of anger, but إِنَّ الْحَسَدَ لَيَأْكُلُ الْإِيمَانَ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارُ الْحَطَبِ. But envy devours faith as faith, or envy devours faith as fire consumes wood. Envy. Here the Imam doesn't say this vice devours good deeds, like the way some other narrations they say how or how backbiting devours good deeds. Here Imam says that envy devours iman, envy devours faith. Your faith is exhibited through your actions. If good deeds are like the branches of a tree, then iman is that trunk of the tree. Slander and backbiting will burn the branches, but envy, what does it do? It goes straight to the root, or straight to that trunk. Envy devours that whole trunk. This is why envy is considered to be one of the greater sins. And if you look at 40 greater sins, if you read the book 40 Great Sins by Shahid Mirab, you'll see that envy is one of those sins. But just we'll end the lecture inshallah, but the narrations, they state that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, he lived for 930 years on earth, and before he passed away, he was ordered to appoint his son Sheeth as his successor and hand over the suhuf or all of those writings that were given to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, and the Ismul A'zam or Ismul Akbar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given to him. And it was because, why was Sheeth the successor? Because what did Qabil do? He had already killed Habil, who was to be the successor. And when Habil was killed, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? That's what He gives him. Because Hazrat Adam cried so much for Hazrat Habil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him another son, a more deserving son. And he says himself, this is a gift of mine. This is a gift of mine. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Please, brothers and sisters, please recite another Surah Fatiha for the marhumeen of Nasir Shah, Shahida Shah, Sikandar Shah, Nagma Zaidi, and marhumeen of Brother Asad Zaidi. Please recite Surah Fatiha for the marhumeen of all these people. And if anyone else would like to sponsor any of these lectures, please get in contact with Brother Asad Zaidi, and he'll be more than happy to let you know what the procedure is to have these majalis or have these lectures all sponsored. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Inshallah, brothers and sisters, I will see you again tomorrow, and we'll move on and we'll speak about another prophet tomorrow, inshallah, and look at their life and see what lessons that we can derive from their life. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.